Go.
Hello, Les. Hello,
Hello.
Thomas.
Hi.
My name's Mary-Clare Rodwell, and I am the High Sheriff of Somerset. And I'd like to introduce Les Redwood, who's the CEO of CAB Baines, and Thomas Sheppard, who's the High Sheriff in nomination for Somerset 2021. I made my declaration to Somerset about this time in March last year. Very shortly after that, the doors were closed on all of us through COVID-19. I'm now coming to the end of my year, and so is the end of lockdown. However, there have been some good points and some bad points, and I've come to today with Thomas to ask Les about how citizens' advice have dealt with the changing problems that they have found in their community this year. Les, can I just ask you, what in the normal course of your work, which sort of, why do people come and consult you?
Thank you, High Sheriff, and thank you to you both, High Sheriff in waiting as well, for this amazing opportunity to have a quick chat and be virtually live as we can be. Yes, so mostly people come to us, really our biggest area is actually around debt and sort of money management. That's really our biggest areas, but actually it's all the associated issues with that as well, obviously welfare and benefits, and also housing, and then of course that dovetails into employment issues, and it's really about sort of supporting people's lifestyles. When predominantly, normally about sort of 65% of issues that we deal with are around money, though, and money management. Debt management or income maximization is normally what is the main thing that we're dealing with.
Thank you. And how has that changed since March of last year? And how is it changing over this year?
Yes, well, it's been very interesting. So in the last 2 years, Citizens Advice Baines we've been on a bit of a journey ourselves. So we were looking at doing more community engagement actually from 2 years ago when I joined from 2 years ago. And we were also looking at our partnerships and our marketing and communications and the way we sort of interacted with our neighborhoods and our community as a charity, and really sort of ensuring that all of our partnerships with the local authority, with DWP, the job centre, with the university, with businesses, and also with other charity partners were as effective as they could be, and we had quite a lot of work to do to enhance those relationships and effectively tell our story in a better way. Basically, for example, most people didn't realize that we are actually a charity, and we've only been around for 81 years, which is quite surprising. So it is a challenge for us that actually we are seen either as sort of part of the council or alternatively as part of a government agency that's sort of government backed. And although we do receive funding from both of those areas, we're not actually we are an independent charity. So that's the work that we had to do, and we were really focused on those partnerships, and also we were focused on our messaging, and we did a lot of reorganizing of our back of house as well, the way we ran our operation, and we provided our services, our free services, as you all know, to our clients. And then of course, and we were lucky enough to have a royal visit with Princess Anne back in February of last year. Things were looking absolutely fantastic, weren't they, for us all? We had this slightly small annoying virus that we'd heard about from China, and then all of a sudden March appeared and we were shut down. And so that had obviously a fairly catastrophic effect on our face-to-face services. We work closely with the council, normally in the council offices, and we had to suspend those services in Keynsham, in Midsummer Norton, and at Manvers Street in Bath. And we had to look at the way we delivered our phone service and also our website as well, and getting more traffic through our website. So we very quickly, the team were absolutely amazing that they were able to rewire our service to all work remotely, dotted all over Bath and North East Somerset, and some actually further afield, working remotely as we've all got used to now with Office 365 and remote phone use and Zoom calls and all these other things that we're now used to. That all happened for us in a couple of weeks, really. But we also opened up a partnership with Bath and North East Somerset Council and Virgin Care, the primary healthcare provider, which was called the Community Wellbeing Hub. And it was very much an emergency response to COVID. We literally worked directly with Virgin Care and with Baines Council on their emergency response to COVID. That's delivering the food parcels, taking medicines to people's houses, and also looking at doing shopping for people and so forth. But what we also brought was other charities with us. So I'm actually a trustee of 3SG as well, and 3SG were involved with this Community Wellbeing Hub as well. We got that off the ground at the end of March last year. The wonderful James Carlin sent a call out, as you will know, for volunteers, thinking that we would get a couple of hundred to help us. And we got 2,000, which was absolutely astounding. But actually, it gave us a front line in the fight against COVID from the hub. So we relocated all the charities and the Virgin Care operation and the Baines emergency response team. We relocated to a building out at Peasdown St John that had become available, and we coordinated the COVID response from that building with the charities, with the Virgin Care Health Services, and also obviously with the local authorities, various departments, welfare, community engagement, neighbourhood building, and we had a front line of 2,000 volunteers dotted all across Bath and North East Somerset. And we worked out in one stage, we were able to place a volunteer within 1 or 2 streets of every single person that was living in Baines. We had complete coverage across the whole of Baines. So we were able to get support directly to people. And the biggest change we've noticed is that in those early days, it was very much about no food and no money. That's why people were ringing the hub. But the biggest changes we've gone through the last year is that it has morphed into longer term issues around income coming into people's houses and supporting them, income maximization, trying to make sure they get the right benefits, but also looking at people's jobs and trying to support them and directing them to retraining, interview skills, how to use Zoom, how to use LinkedIn, all that stuff. So we're also assisting and signposting into that. That's definitely been a change. And then the other change is that we've noticed that debt issues are slowly starting to creep up. Obviously, a lot of those have been held back by government legislation, which has held back things like evictions and so forth. And gradually that stuff is starting to come through now. And of course, as we all know, furlough and the self-employment scheme has been extended till September, but we are concerned that there is a bit of a cliff edge there, that actually when all that stops, we're going to have a lot of employment issues, a lot of money issues, and a lot of debt issues all coming along together. So there's some challenges ahead for us, I think, and that's how it's changed over the last year.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much for explaining it so well, Les. I'm just not up to speed of when landlords will be able to evict tenants. Has that date moved as well?
I think it has moved on. I don't know the exact date. I think it's been now Thomas is nodding here, has an area of expertise. I think it's been moved on again another month or so. They keep moving it down the road. But yes, and I anticipate, I think if it's not already, I should anticipate it may well end up in line with September, with a lot of the other ending of the COVID responses. So I would imagine that will be the journey for that. And again, that will cause some issues. There are already issues to the court service and also to the tribunal service in terms of volumes coming through. And we have an appeals team here that deals directly with the tribunal service. In fact, actually, our lead volunteer won Volunteer of the Year for National Citizens Advice this year out of 272 offices. And she has up in the 90s success rate with appeals, where people have had challenges around PIP or DLA or other benefits, and she's the leader of that team. So we're really proud of that. But they are reporting back that there are substantial delays in the court system. I'm sure Thomas will back that up, obviously with his expertise and skill set and knowledge.
Thomas, would you like to ask Les a question? You're muted.
One of those things that in the future there's going to be T-shirts which say you're mute.
Yes.
And a certain generation will know what that means, and the rest will think sad old souls. Yes,
Yes,
thank you so much for what you do. And
no worries.
what I'd like to understand are sort of two things.
Hmm.
The first thing is, how has it changed in terms of the sort of people, and has that been a surprise to you? And the second question was, you have people working for you and long-term volunteers, and how has it been for them, and how have you been supporting them during this period?
Yes, very good question. Thank you, Thomas. Yes, so just in terms of our sort of staff and volunteers, we have around about 100 volunteers across the year. It has ebbed and flowed a little bit, and we've got around about 30 staff now. They are all working remotely, and that has presented some challenges for us, especially as it's gone on, for the longer term. But we have been doing all the usual things of trying to sort of keep in touch by Zoom as much as possible. Obviously, social meets are kind of out, but we do keep in touch within. We have a big sort of staff meeting every time, and also we have we have our volunteers kind of Zoom get-togethers as well. At Christmas time, one of the things that we did actually was we sent all the staff a Costa Coffee voucher. Because we weren't able to get together. So what we did was we sent everybody a voucher so they could, wherever they were, they could go out and buy themselves some lunch and a cup of coffee, as we weren't sort of all together. So, and various other things. We have a partnership with Bath Mind. So we've had Bath Mind give us some well-being tips over Zoom, and sort of one-to-ones with the various different groups of volunteers as well. But as I'm sure you within your own business and own contacts, Thomas, it's been a very challenging time for people, especially for something that actually was only due to go on for a few months, but actually has become, a year and plus. And in terms of our clients, we've definitely noticed a change in our clients in terms of there's a socio-economic element to that, because of lots of people being made redundant. And so, a lot of our classic clients are still there, but actually there's another challenge there around some of them around digital exclusivity. So there's some challenges for the ones that are really in need there, but we have increased vastly in terms of a younger age profile, and also a wider socio-economic profile as well, as a lot of people have either lost their jobs, or they've retrained, or they've taken the opportunity to, or they've had a new career that's perhaps started a new business, but it's actually their clients have dried up, or they're not being able to deliver the services they were. And one other slight change is we've noticed there's not a lot more women coming to us for advice. There's been an increase in women asking for only a small, not a significant amount, but certainly that's another change that we should request and record.
In the past, therefore, it was more gender based towards males asking for advice.
It was more just a balance, more 50-50, and actually I think it's slightly tweaked to about sort of 55-45. So yeah, just a slight change, but nonetheless still a slight change, which is it's just something that's happened over that year, which is interesting, and that's been repeated. So I'm talking across our national offices there, which is actually something that's interesting. What's of real interest though is the under 25s. The under 25s have actually been engaging with us, of course, on web chat, web forms, not so much interested in face-to-face, and perhaps not even the telephone, actually more interested in the more digital engagement. And that's something nationally that we're looking at building on, because of course they're our future clients and we need them to continue to support us, or to support them, because otherwise, if we don't engage with the younger generation, we will have no future. So it's thrown up some interesting challenges and questions for us over the year.
I thought it might. I see you have a couple of vacancies on your website. Are you finding it hard to recruit?
Yes, we specifically we had a bit of a challenge actually recently around debt work, because we have increased our debt team quite substantially. We have 4 key strategic projects that we've added in over the last year, one of which is a community wellbeing hub. The other one is as you say, the debt advice team. We've bolstered that team to an extra 5 staff, We've done that on the back of extra support from various partners, Wessex Water, St John's Foundation, and also directly from MAPS, obviously the government agency. What that's actually done, though, is so have other offices all across the country done that, and other debt advice services. So it's actually taken a lot of capacity out of the market. So it's actually very difficult to recruit debt specialists at the moment, debt advice specialists, because in a good way, the government pumped in £37 million, and that immediately has soaked up all of the extra capacity in the system in terms of debt advice. So that's been a challenge. However, outside of that, as we all know, the labour market is absolutely awash with people at the moment, unfortunately. So other areas haven't been such a challenge for us.
Good. And how do you see the demands on you changing as lockdown eases, Les?
So yes, we've obviously been looking at this and planning this as well over the next sort of year or so. I mean, it's been very difficult to plan over the last year anything further than sort of, well, initially a couple of months and more sort of 6 months plus. But what we've been able to do is, hopefully you can gather, is over the last year we've delivered a large amount of change that we were already on that change road direction, but we've also been able to add in these extra partnerships and projects that, so let's take the positives out of COVID here. We've got a far stronger relationship now with the health and social care sector across Bath and North East Somerset. We're working much more closely with the council than we've ever done before. We have some enhanced work now with DWP and the job centre here locally, which has all come out of COVID. We were working very closely with them already, but we're far more enhanced than we have ever been before. We have a burgeoning law clinic partnership, which we've been working with Bath Spa University on over a year or so. But we have had some great success with that, and we're able to develop a free pro bono law service for some of our clients. I'm working with Stone King. So that's been a great advantage to us. And the Debt Advice Club as well has we call it the Debt Advice Club, but that is actually in response to a survey that our National Citizens Advice directed us to, which pointed to a perhaps 60% increase in debt advice needs in the next year. And that's all because of the things that we talked about earlier. So hopefully you can see we've really rewired our service, not only obviously in the classic way, we've all done remote working and so forth, but actually we've added in these partnerships to allow us to be able to increase the resilience and the sustainability and the longevity of the charity into the future. Because as we all know, we still rely on our local authority, BANES, for our key support, and thank goodness they're there for us. But we also know that local authorities, all of them across Somerset, your patch, both of your patch, will be extremely challenged over the next 2 years, 2022-23. So we are making sure we don't have, for want of a better phrase, all our eggs in one basket. So and that's helped us, I think, and that's how things have changed. We've become hopefully more sustainable and more resilient through that process, but we still need these kind of partnerships, and partnerships not just about money, but actually about genuinely firstly understanding what it is we do for the community, and then genuinely working together. And perhaps there's a CSR agenda in there, perhaps for our corporate partners. There's certainly a community support agenda for the likes of these conversations, and also working with other charities and foundations and so forth. So, and we're really focusing on that and developing that for the future, and that's the future for us.
Have you managed, will you keep all your offices open, do you think?
We've, as we've said, we've shut our back office at Midsummer Norton, but we may remain completely committed to front of house face-to-face service. So Manvers Street and Keynsham and Midsummer Norton will return as soon as, and they are partnerships obviously with Bath and North East Somerset Council, as soon as they allow us back into those areas. Obviously all a bit challenged at the moment still with COVID. We will be in there and we will be offering that service. What has been a challenge, and I think Mary-Clare, you and I discussed this this before, is around digital exclusion and people being able to get access to our services who are perhaps not so good on the phone, or they're not so good on the websites, or they don't have a smartphone or a PC at home, or the rest of it. And we are concerned about that cohort of people. We have done some direct things for those. We've actually written out to some of them, our clients that we've used to see on a regular basis through our one-stop shops, and now we're no longer seeing them. And also we were very lucky to get a national lottery partnership and a bit of support. The National Lottery have supported us at the Community Wellbeing Hub, but they also supported us to do an 80,000 leaflet mail out all across Baines to put actually our services, our free services, in front of everybody and put that on everybody's doormats. And hopefully they're now stuck to their fridges with a magnet for when they're needed. So
yeah, it's trying to get your message out there, trying to show people how they can contact you, because a lot of the younger generation maybe don't know about citizens advice.
Absolutely.
Are you what other means are you using apart from leafleting? Do you use?
Yes, yeah, it's mainly around obviously the website. Of course, we use social media to drive the traffic to the website, and events like this, more digital friendly, for want of a better phrase, are very much the future. And there is a lot of work going on nationally to engage with the under 25s. It's a real key plank of our new future. It's called a Future of Advice strategy. So we're doing a lot of work in that area as well to ensure that we are working directly with that younger generation. Of course, you will see locally the Bath Spa University partnership is actually part of that work. But we've also got a partnership with the University of Bath, where they're actually doing some research work with us at the moment on the Community Wellbeing Hub and the actual quantifiable value that we've been able to deliver there. And we're working with IPR up at the university, and they have been extremely helpful with us in order to quantify our value add, within that amazing initiative we've set up, but also longer term, how we as Citizens Advice add value back to the local community. And they're really helping us with that, so we're indebted to them. But of course, the subtle thing about that is it also exposes us to the students there and that younger generation. And of course, we're also doing things as well on the employment and employability side with the City of Bath College. And again, that's an attempt to just get ourselves out there and get known.
Thomas, don't you think that the work of the Citizens Advice is quite extraordinary?
Well, it's one of those things that you just always believe is there, and I suppose it may be a generational thing. But I would never imagine there isn't a city in the country, in the whole country, that hasn't got a Citizens Advice Bureau. But I suppose the difficulty is understanding, well, how do you get to the people who need to know about you? And I think we've heard from this conversation that that's a changing group of people. And so that the youngsters who may not have known it in the way that perhaps it did in the past, and also people who've fallen on hard times that didn't expect to.
Absolutely.
Or indeed have very complex needs, which may be both financial and also ones that your partnerships may be able to help with, from the whole problem of being locked in a house together with a family for a long period of time. What I was wondering is there a sort of parting message you would like us to have, Les, that anybody who's listened to this, and that the one thing that rings in their ears is what?
I think, in the last minute that we have, and firstly, let me just thank you both for your time. Mary-Clare, you've been a tower of support for us, and with my 3SG hat on as well, for 3SG, and you've really waved the flag for us over the last year, and the third sector all across Bath and North East Somerset. I know that's been a priority for you, so thank you very much for your support. And Thomas, obviously, we know each other of old through the Bath Bulls charity and the work over that, so I'm really looking forward, likewise. I'm sure you will carry the standard on to the same level and beyond, perhaps, for the next year or so. So thank you both for the support. And I guess my key message really sort of for the future to sort of close, I guess, is actually partnerships. It's yes, of course, at the end of the day, money and funding is important. And I think through any good partnership, in the end, it becomes about how you work together in that way to sustain that. But actually, it's more about the people people involved and the partners involved and the service you provide to your community, and being able to get that trick of using institutions like yourselves and the universities and, you know, all of our various NHS and the schools and the council, and bring those together, and the corporate sector as well, to actually start to make a difference for our community and knit us together. And then I think that actually some of those financial challenges that we may have in the charity sector will actually be answered by that partnership working, because you will find that things, through working together and rubbing along together, you will go, oh, actually, do you know this is happening, or that's happening, or have you met this person, and oh, they're very, you know, and that's just how it happens, isn't it? I hope anyway. Let's end on a hopeful note for Baines and Somerset, of course.
Indeed.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much both, and keep safe and well. Thank you.
You tell me about the pillars behind you.
Oh, right. Before we go, just very quickly before we go. Okay, yes, the pillars. This is our strategy. So 2 years ago, this is the strategy that we effectively came up with. It's Bath themed, as you can obviously see, shamelessly, but actually it's about building those 6 pillars within the charity, and actually sustaining that work over the next, well, actually what has now been 2 years. So the first one was finance, making sure we had the right finance. Getting our operation right was the next one. Governance was the third one. We had to develop and become more of a fundraising and business development side of things for the charity. Marketing and communications was our 5th one, and then the last one of all was all about the people. So actually, that's what we've been working on, sustaining and growing all of those pillars to hold up our sustainable and growing citizens' advice for the future.
And I'm very impressed, because there aren't many chief executives who could recite their strategy without having
It's been 2 years of night terrors, I think, Thomas.
because you're living, I hope.
Exactly. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, both. Much appreciated. Keep safe, and we will speak again soon. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.